You cannot do anything you put your mind to. Now, I know that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way because we're used to telling everyone, hey, if you just work hard enough, if you just really put your mind to something, you can accomplish it. But I just wanted to talk about limitations and the fact that we live in a physical reality and there are limitations. And for me, the advice, you can do anything that you put your mind to, was very damaging to me. I'm going to explain exactly why that was damaging, and I'm going to try to make a case for, again, we can do things, but we have to look at our nature and nature itself. So the example I'm going to give is an obvious one. I'm going to ask you a question. Could Shaq become the world's greatest jockey? Impossible. Why? Why would it be impossible? Because being small is the advantage that you want on being a jockey. Even if Shaq cut off his legs, he'd still be too big. And if he cut off his legs, he would have legs to guide the horse and to do the things that you need to do as a jockey. So there are physical limitations. And that's a ridiculous one, right? But then you think about the opposite. If someone's really short, could they play basketball? Well, I've seen people that are 5'3" play basketball at the professional level. 5'5", Earl Boykins, 5'3", Muggsy Bogues. But they also had genetic capabilities in them that were able to keep up with these big people. Earl Boykins could bench press 315 pounds. He could jump out of the gym. He was strong, he was fit, he was fast. He was still a liability, even though I saw him score many, many points. He was still a liability because on defense, he couldn't guard anybody. So even though he was very good on one end, he was a liability on the other end, so his potential wasn't as good. I'm not saying that you couldn't accomplish that goal of getting to the NBA, which he did, but I'm saying it will be difficult. And so what I wanted to talk about is again, this idea that you can do anything you put your mind to. Well, I say no, right? Like with the example with Shaq. Now you have to look at nature, Mother Nature, physics, physiology, but also your nature, your physics, physiology, all of the things that go into you. And if you're focused on some goal and it's going to take you so much further and longer to even be decent at it, what I'm trying to say to you is you can do anything you put your mind to, maybe, probably not, but why wouldn't you play to your strengths and do and maximize what you're built for? What's your nature? Instead of just thinking about what you want, I want my mind to be set to this thing and I want this thing, no matter what, even if it's ridiculous. But people told me that I can do that. What I say and what I'm trying to do with my life now is, what am I best suited for? God's will be done. I'm going to say that word. That's the word that I use to talk about my higher power, or the thing that creates, the thing that's bigger than everything, all of us, that creates the results. I am now trying to give my will and my life over to God so that I can do what's best for everyone else and myself, not just what I want. And I struggle with that every single day. I say prayers and I work on things to make sure that I'm giving my will and my life over to God, because I want to be in control. I wanted certain things when I was a kid. I wanted, talk about the NBA. That was my goal. My goal was to play in the NBA, and I had no other goals in my life but that. That was, my whole life was geared around basketball. Now, I was good at basketball. I was really good at basketball. I was always the best player whenever I played and any tournament that I was in and all that. But at some level, there's a physical gap, or there's a physical ceiling. And I'm 6 foot tall. I can jump pretty high, but I still didn't have the physical capabilities to keep up as I got older, to keep up with the best guys. Now, could I have played Division I? Yes, but I probably would have just ridden the bench. Even though I had the skills to do it, the physicality was the thing that held me back. I would bump into someone, all right, and I'd be like, ow, my arm, ow, my leg. Like, it was tough for me, right? It's a physical, it's a contact sport, but you can't really make contact. There's bumping and there's moving. And I knew how to use my body, and I knew with the skills I could do it, but it just, the wear and tear was too much. So there was that physical component, but I was told as a kid, you can do anything. And then what happened? It's because I had other interests and I had lots of other things going on. After I gave up that that dream of being a professional basketball player because I stopped playing. I lost the love for it. There was other things that happened, but there was still that idea that I could do anything that I wanted. And what that led me to was me not looking at my strengths. I wasn't realistic about my life because I just thought, well, if I just put my mind to something, it doesn't matter what it is, I can do it. And that was dangerous because I didn't go after the things that I was strongest at. I was 3 years ahead of everybody in math, and I probably could have suited the world better through going after more of a mathematic career or physics career or something like that. And I could have done probably more good in the past, let's just say since I've graduated high school, several years, right? So let's just say I had done that, I might have contributed to society better. Well, I do believe that God works in mysterious ways and everything happens for a reason. And the things that I chose to do led me to where I am today. But what I'm saying is maybe I would have ended up in the same spot right now, right here, right now, whether I took a different path or not, who knows? We can't, see exactly what would have happened if I took this route, not that route. But what I'm trying to get at is I went through a lot of struggle to get to where I am. I had to fight and tooth and nail and claw my way to be able to have some semblance of reality. And I went through a lot of shit and I just barely scraped by, just barely made it out alive to be where I'm at today. And so what I'm saying is I would hope that my advice for other people would be, hey, don't do that. Don't struggle so much in regard to your self-inflicted struggle. Do the things that you are best suited at. And instead of being obsessed with this, well, I want this thing, so I'm going to go after that. Well, if you have a hobby, like let's just say me in basketball, let's just say I love basketball and I want to do that, but my expectations are for the NBA. There's a huge gap in reality and what can actually happen. Now, I can still play basketball. I can still be on a YMCA league team and I can still enjoy the sport and I can still watch the sport and I can still do things within the sport. But what am I best suited at? What are my gifts that I can then share with the world? Someone like LeBron James, he could have chosen many different sports. I'm glad that he chose the sport of basketball. If we're on that subject, on basketball. Same thing with Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, some of these great players, because they could have done, like LeBron, I mean, if you look at his statistics in football, he would have been the greatest football player of all time. But I'm glad he went basketball because for me, his expression in the sport of basketball is so beautiful. And maybe he would have been limited in the sport of football. So again, I think that was playing to his strengths and he did the right thing. So with people in general, the advice of you can do anything you want, I think then allows for them to get their mind going about, again, what they want versus what their strengths are. Now, if you can marry those two together, oh, I really like this thing, like LeBron, I really like basketball and I happen to be very, very talented at it. Well, that's a match made in heaven. Someone that wasn't like that, Andre Agassi, if you read his book, Open, one of the greatest biographies of all time, the guy's, it's a fairy tale. He hated tennis. He wanted to play soccer, but his dad was a crazy person, you'll read it in the book, and he hated tennis, but he was really, really good at it. He was gifted. He was a special one. But if he had changed it, he said he would have went on a sports team. He loved being around other people. And you can see that through this biography where he had this team of people and he was very connected to them and all this. So anyways, those things, if you can marry the two, that's when you'll probably, not always, but you'll probably be more fulfilled in life. You'll probably have a better quality of life. Like I was saying, you won't have to struggle and fight. You hear these people who maybe they're talented at one thing and they do that thing, but they hate it. So what I'm trying to say is, well, play to your strengths, but understand also if you hate something that maybe you have a different relationship with that thing. Hey, I'm really talented at this thing. I don't like it, but that's what I'm gifted at. And you have that honor of, hey, I'm doing something not just for myself, I'm doing something for other people because I am gifted at it. And maybe you have boundaries with that. Maybe you don't work as much. Maybe you have a side hustle or a side job or a side hobby that allows you to get that fulfillment. But again, if we have this idea that everyone should be doing exactly what they want to do, you're seeing it with young people now. all they want to do is what's popular, and everyone wants to do what I'm doing, being a YouTuber, right? And it's like, is that exactly what people should be doing? Again, I'm not saying I have the answer for myself. I'm trying to give it over to God every single day and say, what do you want me to be doing? How can I best serve your will, your plan, which means other people and the world and the greater good? So that concept of you can do anything you want, I think gets us into dangerous areas, because what if everybody wants the same thing? Well, then it's impossible for us to all work the hardest that we can to get there. You're going to see that some people's capacity, like we said, genetic capacity, like LeBron James, might be a lot greater than someone else. So it's unrealistic expectations to say that you can do anything that you put your mind to, or you just have to work hard enough and you'll get there. I think what we should be doing is, again, asking what is best suited for us, that we can, again, not just affect ourselves, but affect other people. And maybe you go back to your job that you hate, but you're really good at, and maybe you have a different relationship with that job now because of the way that you look at your relationship with it. You go, hey, I know I hate this thing, but I'm really good at it. I'm affecting a lot of people. I can help people. Maybe you approach work different. Maybe you don't. But what I'm saying is when our zeitgeist, the thinking of our culture is you should be doing what you want. You should never be uncomfortable. You should always love what you're doing. I think it sets us up for unrealistic expectations because, again, you might be really, really good and be best suited for one thing, but then your love is for something else. If you can marry those two, then wow, you're blessed. But if you can't, maybe start thinking about that relationship with it and going, hey, I have a duty to other people, not just myself. We're so self-focused in this culture, which can be a great thing. It can be a terrible thing. And I think on the grand scheme of things, we should be thinking about not just ourselves, but what's good for everyone else around us. And if we can be of duty, be of honor. I made a video about JFK and his saying, ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country. I think that plays a role in all areas of life, not just with the country, but what you can do for society, your neighbor, all those things. What are you best suited for? So ask that question. Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses? If I play to my weaknesses, it's going to be a long road. You're going to have to really, really fight for a little bit of results. I'm not saying take the easiest path and just let that happen, because maybe some good things come along the way. But what I'm saying for the idea of a life, play to your strengths. And if you can marry that strength with a passion or with a love, that's going to then end up being a great thing for the world. But again, even if you can't do that, even if you're stuck in something that, hey, I don't enjoy it, but I'm good at it and I'm doing a good service. If you have that relationship of, hey, I have a duty and a role in society to do this, then everyone is going to thank you for that. And then we can have something else on the side that brings you a little bit more fulfillment. But I bet you if we changed our idea about things, maybe there would be more fulfillment to that hard day's work of something that you don't necessarily like. Now, if you hate it completely and you can't stand it and you're crawling out of your skin, obviously, I don't want that for you. And I don't think anybody does. But if it's something that, hey, it's just, I know what to do with it. I'm really good at it. I do it, but I don't enjoy it. Start looking at that relationship, start looking at the way that you see it, and maybe you can benefit from a healthier relationship and also at the same time benefit others by being at your strength. We're at your strong suit. I think if we all played to our strengths and we were honest with ourselves and with other people about what their strengths were, the world would look a lot better. I know it would look a lot better for me. I'm starting to find my strengths and I'm trying to lean into those things versus just trying to have my will, JD's will all the time. That, it just doesn't end up well for anybody. I know from my own experience, you can take it or leave it. When I am in charge, it might look good for a short period of time, but I always end up screwing it up. Whereas if it's under God's will, it's just my experience. Everything seems to work out, and it's not just good for me. It's good for you. It's good for everyone around me. So play to your strengths, analyze your life, weaknesses, strengths, and see if you can't find a happy relationship, a happy medium with what you're best gifted, what you're best suited for, so that you can not only help yourself, but you can help the world around you. That's all we got for today.